We are back. Here's video number 3. Okay, in your little pack, you would have received quite a few little items. And again, for those of you that are beaders, you'll know what they are. For those of you that aren't, won't know what they are. Now, what we're going to do right now in the third video is we're going to put the ends on. Now, I've already done this end so that you can see it and for time constraints. But I'm going to show you how to add the second end. Now, I have a theory, and a lot of beaders do this, and there's some that don't, but I always try to either start a new thread or act like I'm ending and starting a new thread before I add any clasp. That way, if the clasp breaks or if something happens and it gets pulled too tight on those last few beads, it won't destroy the whole bracelet or necklace, whatever you're working on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run my working thread just up through here and do my little circles. Just like if I was ending my thread. And I will tell you too that this is single drop, as we discussed before. Single drop peyote is much tighter weave than a double or triple. I generally don't do triple, but I do a ton of double drop or 2 drop. And the reason is because I love the way it is flexible. Now, peyote in itself is only flexible in one direction. It will flex little to nothing in the other direction, and you will notice that again if you're a new beader. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to first open up the slide. Now, I have bought them from multiple places. Of course, Fire Mountain Gems is my preferred. They don't have a very big opening here, so you want to just very gently open that slide a little bit extra so that you can fit the beads through. We're going to set that aside. These beads that you add are not going to show, so it doesn't really matter what color you use, or even if you use weirdo combinations of whatever's left over, because they will not show whatsoever. And again, there's the proof. There are little beads up inside here, and you can't see any of them. Okay, so you need to measure the end, and you don't measure from the end to the end, you measure the slot. Now, I'm going to help you out because I already know the combination that we need. And if you look down here, you'll see we skip the first up, and we start with the second up. So after you've gone in some of your circles, excuse me, you will need to come out one side or the other. It doesn't really matter which side. There is no right or wrong way to do this. Of the second up, okay? And you're going to pick up a bead, and you'll see I'm coming out right there. And you're going to go back in the opposite side. So basically you're making a little circle. And if you're a bead weaver, you know this is also called a square stitch. Okay, so there is a little bead here on the top. Now, again, it doesn't really matter how you get there. It doesn't really matter which side you come out, but you need to go to the next up and add a bead. Again, making it a circle each time so they stack. Okay. So I'm going to move a little faster here so that we can get to the next step. And you'll notice down here, again, I figured this out for you. So you're going to have 1 up showing here and 2 ups showing here. So 1 on one side and 2 on the other. You can reverse it so it's opposite on either side, but ultimately you have to have 1 here and 2 here in order to make it work. So let me jump ahead real fast and get these on so that we can get to the next step in this video. And if they are turned, you just kind of pull them straight. And you do not have to make these super, super, super tight. If they're a little loose, that's okay. You don't want big gaps. You know, you don't want it like this. But if it's just snug up against there and it's leaning a little, that's fine. Because the thread and the space in between these beads is actually what's going to go through the slide. And again, you'll think of your own little, you can go whichever direction you want. You can kind of place the needles wherever you want as long as you get this and don't catch the bead before. Come on, come back here. See what happens when I try to hurry? Okay, so you just got to go all the way across and make this little row. And I'm sorry about the sniffling. And if any of you have watched my videos, you'll notice my voice is a little more gruff too. I'm not really sure if I'm getting over or starting to get a little bit of a cold, which of course here in North Florida, we had 86 degrees one day and it was 40 the next. So we're having fun with our weather. They say we might actually get a freeze here in March, which will be phenomenal for us because that doesn't usually happen. Okay, so remember, what did I say on this end? I said 1 up and 2 up, okay? So we don't want to cover up those spots because then it will be too wide and it won't fit. Okay, so this is the last one. Now, another trick that I will tell you. You are going to want to end this thread, or if you're going to use this thread for fringe, you want to at least move it out of the way, because once you put that bar on there, it makes it a little more difficult to get the thread through and around in the beads. So I'm going to go ahead and use this for one side of my fringe, so I'm going to just move it up to, and I'm doing a little bit of rounds again, that way if the fringe gets caught, it doesn't rip the whole bracelet apart. So I'm going to move it to this very end bead and come out the end bead. There it goes. Okay, and just kind of set the thread aside. Now, this is kind of the fun and difficult part. You have to slide this little slit here onto the beads. First one, usually second one, go right on. Now, once you get a little farther in, your tension's usually a little tighter, and the beads are a little snugger, and you're having to slide them down a little farther. So, what sometimes I have to do, like this one won't go on, is take a needle, trying to keep my hands out of the way here, and kind of pull it over into it, okay? It's a little finagling. Do the best we can. And sometimes it just takes a needle for all of them. And I know my hands are probably in the way. Sorry about that. Just try and slide it right in between those two beads. So I'm going to take the needle because this one won't work, and I'm going to see if I can do this without getting my hands in the way. Pull it over and then slide it up. It's kind of hard to do with holding everything. Come on, there it goes. Oh, and I pull it back out. There it goes. Once they slide on, they usually they stay on. You know, if you slide it back out by accident, they usually will stay and just slide right back in there. It's the getting them on the first time. Oh, I'm getting there. Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it. Almost to the end. Almost. Once you get them to the end, it will be a tight fit. This last bead will literally be right up against the edge. Now, some people don't fill them all the way. Some people only fill them a little bit. But I will say that the more beads you have in there, the less likely you will have a break or a problem. Because if 1 or 2 beads break, you're still fine. You have to break all of them or bust a thread in order for this to have a problem. Now, to close this, okay, you gently pull closed a little. But that's it. Now what you need to do is use something so that your beadwork is hanging down and you have a solid place. If your fire line doesn't work, you can even use, because I've done this multiple times too, another pair of tools, because you want that beadwork to not get crushed. Then you take a pliers and you close that. And there you go. That is the end. Okay, so in the next one, I will show you how to add all these little extra pieces real quick. And I will also show you how to do the fringe. So that will be in video 4. And I'll see you back then.